Hello.
Episode 646. Hello. Susan here.
Hello. Sarah here. Sarah Whitney Rice.
Sarah Louise Whitney
Susan?
Rice Butler. What?
Yes.
Did you? I meant to ask you in the last episode. Did your mom get a kick out of being so close to being Sally Ride by being Sally Rice?
No, I don't know if she's ever thought about it.
Really?
She gets more of a kick out of being. Well, she used to look like Sally Field when she was younger more, so it would be like Sally Rice, Sally Field. But also her maiden name is Brown, so she gets more of a kick out of being Sally Brown Rice.
Right, okay. She hooked her wagon to that joke. Got it.
Yeah.
Sally Brown Rice, which is great.
Yeah.
And
who wouldn't?
Every time you were talking about Sally Ride last episode, I kept thinking you were going to say Sally Rice, and then it was just one letter off.
And it's so funny, I'm always known by my first and last name together. That's how people refer to me. Mm-hmm. Even my own boyfriend, I like it.
That's usually only true for people with one syllable first names.
Well, they've kind of made it Sarah Rice, I'll blur it all together. Oh. But my mom has always just been Sally. I feel like nobody calls her Sally Rice.
Yeah, she's
Sally
like Rice. Madonna.
Just, yeah.
And Cher.
So are you. Just
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I am like. Yes. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. I'm, got my car fixed finally, so I'm not the girl with the squeaky brakes.
Okay, that's good. What'd they say? It was any day now you were going to runaway train?
It's I thought I was really taking the initiative and saving myself a buck or two. And we had, me and anybody who's ever been in my car diagnosed the front brakes as the ones that needed replacement. So I bought front brake pads. Turns out those were fine. It was the back. So
the sound just sounded like it was in the front?
Yes.
Oh, man.
He's like, funny thing, I know you brought me these.
No.
Turns out. I was like, oh, gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was a good effort, though.
Yeah. I tried. I tried to save a penny where I can.
For real, I can't even imagine. I don't even know what that is. A brake. What did you buy? Brake pad?
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
Hardware.
What does that look like?
Looks like a little, I don't know, like a brake pad, like a little rectangle piece with another little piece on top of it that's ceramic, I think.
I mean, I can't even, I've never seen this item. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It exists.
It's fine. You don't need to. It's good.
But I wonder how much you save if you buy them proactively.
Probably 25%. I think there's probably 25, 30% markup.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I drove by, I was driving right by. I'm I'll stop in, grab one, grab the other. And then
Where are you going? Pep Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah?
O'Reilly's?
I don't know if that's here.
Well, see, this is, I go into these places because that's when I end up having my beefs with the people who ask me, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Well, and I probably gave them a snooty answer. Yeah, it is the front ones I need. Turns out,
right?
I gotta go with my
it?
tail between my legs and return it. Ugh.
That's funny.
Anybody need some brake pads so I don't have to go back in
there? Okay, this is. I'm fine.
This
is totally stupid Susie story, but I'm going to tell it anyway, just because I like having someone to tell.
Yes.
So I really love old YouTube clips of 1970s television, the Dick Cavett show, Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, old stuff. Yeah. Adam says that my next podcast should be called Old Gossip because I'm obsessed with old gossip.
Oh my God, it should.
I just want
trademarked right here.
Trademark. Because I just love celebrity interweavings, but just old stuff. I don't care about J-Lo or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And I was watching this clip of the Johnny Carson Tonight Show, and Don Rickles was the guest, and I was so happy. It was great. But the guest that had been on right before, so he had moved down the couch, was an actor that I didn't recognize, and he clearly did not like Don Rickles. He was not enjoying the comedy, and I don't understand that, number one, because Don Rickles is a god, but most people would just fake it. Like, even if you didn't, you're on television, like you just go along with the gag. That's you yes and no matter what. But it was very clear that it was awkward. And I literally thought the thought in my head, who is this psychopath that does not love Don Rickles? And then Don kept acknowledging it and like basically making it worse, which I loved. And then I realized after he said his name that it was Robert Blake, who, if you don't know Robert Blake, he is now in jail for being a literal psychopath for murdering his wife a few years ago.
Oh, my God.
So I just enjoyed identifying a psychopath.
You sure did.
Right. He was very handsome.
What do you
but I didn't recognize him, even though I've seen him as an older man.
What do you think it was about Don Rickles' comedy that rubs him the wrong way that we can then identify as being the... Because remember how we were talking about... what serial killer were you talking about the other week that like measured... Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, no, that was BTK.
BTK.
Yeah.
He was like real specific on all this.
Yeah.
Like how there was a need to be like within the lines and like refrain, like what's the word? Repressed in a way. Like we're like really restricted and restrained. Restrained is maybe the right word.
Yeah.
In their like behavior.
Right. Like he's raping and murdering, and then he's mad that your grass is too long.
Right.
Like that's what the
this guy's like a psychopath, but he's mad because you have like a like.
If you're not familiar with Don Rickles, his whole act, he doesn't even do jokes. His whole act is calling out members of the audience and ripping them to shreds. And like it's race, religion, ethnicity, height, weight, anything. He will ruin you. But everyone loves it because it's Don Rickles. And you just are like, make fun of me. Yeah. And so he was doing his stuff, his persona. And I guess a malignant narcissist really doesn't like to be insulted. And is the kind of guy who probably beats up and then murders his wife.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I want to see that.
I know. I'll send it to you. But I was just like, it's a long video, but it kept building. I'm like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? You just laugh at Don Rickles. That's what you do. Yeah. Anyway, that's what's new with me, Sarah.
Well,
okay.
Good story.
Thank you. My first thing, I think when we've many times talked about the flat earth movement, I don't know if it's a movement, backwards movement. I think one time maybe we even talked about Shaquille O'Neal being somebody who was in the flat earth community, which weirdly there's too many athletes that fall into this category, if you have noticed.
Yeah. Agreed.
Anyway, I think we've talked about it, but he doubled down recently, and I just want to know, like, your assessment.
No.
Yeah. Because...
We're still on this? There's still people who are like, yeah, this is what's happening?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay, so first of all, the first time he said it... grown? I think it is growing.
Oh, no.
It's catching on. So, like, the first time...
What are these fucking bozos?
That he just said it. Then there was backlash, of course, and then he walked it back and he was like, what? I was joking. Like, almost everything I say is a joke. But then he's saying it again, so I'm like, are you joking or not?
He's joking.
Okay. Well, let me read to you what he said, and I was like, if he is not joking, like, it's not okay. No. Oh, I thought I got the right article. E-Online. Okay. So he was basically making the claim that, because he flies all around the world, and you would think, like, that would be enough. But he goes, I flew straight from the United States to Australia. So I flew 20 hours. Not once did I go this way, like acting like and then he goes, and the plane didn't tip over or go upside down during the trip. And then he said, they say the world is spinning. I've been living on a house on a lake for 30 years. Not once did the lake rotate to the left or right. If we were spinning so fast, why aren't we dizzy? Sarah.
Oh, no.
Either Because, we made the decision that these people just need a community. They need somewhere to belong.
This sounds to me like a lack of education on basic physical forces of physics.
I would say so.
What we need is a... This story went around a few years ago that there's an NFL player who got his PhD in, I want to say advanced mathematics or something like that, or financing, something like mathy and businessy.
Okay.
Numbers related. And he was teaching a lot of other players about, how to take care of their money afterwards and things like that.
Sure.
And there's gotta be
like a science
somewhere
version.
A nerdy NFL player, an NBA player who's also simultaneously getting their I feel like this is the terrible side effect of those schools that make their athletes maintain like a 3.2 GPA or something, and then they put them in fucking classes like underwater basket weaving or I don't know, whatever they do. Like it'll be like your
so
ABCs, and they don't learn the basics of like centrifugal force. Like all you need to do is give Shaquille O'Neal a bucket of water and a string, and we can show him why his lake ain't sloshing around.
And why we're not dizzy, as he said.
Yeah. And driving in the car, and if you're asleep in the car, you don't notice anything but acceleration and deceleration. So you'll wake up if somebody slams on the brakes or steps on the gas harder, but you will not if you just maintain constant motion. We're maintaining this is a basic physics.
Jerry Seinfeld says that's one of the reasons why he loves cars so much is that you're standing still and moving very fast at the same time.
Right.
Which is what you're describing. Yes.
And you don't go, whoa.
What if we just were like, whoa, with our arms up?
Well, we should every now and then just for fun. Like maybe just trick our brains and think, whoa.
He was saying this on a podcast, and the podcast host, has to be welcoming, so that you can't just be like, you're an idiot. So the host goes, how can someone fly to the other side of the world from either direction? Like you could go east or west. Like if it were flat, and then Shaq just said, it's still a straight line. You don't go under. I don't even know what that means, man. I'm pretty sure that proves our point.
Yeah, it does. We need to just watch the documentary.
I guess what I want to say is that if you are joking, it's not funny. Please stop doing that because you're doing harm to the world.
Like I think he is asking questions that a curious mind has about how our world, our physical world works, physics, and needs just like like Bill Nye to step in.
It's almost willful ignorance, though, because you could easily find the answers to those curious mind questions.
Right.
But instead,
you're looking at flat Earth videos.
Either it's willful ignorance or he's a provocateur, and it's just not funny because
he might be that.
It's not cool, man.
Yeah, I'm not because I don't think people know. If we don't know people, it's. I don't like that.
Like that's real. It makes me mad.
Yeah.
I saw this thing online that was about ADHD people.
Oh, can't wait.
Okay. No. So because for some reason I attract ADHD people in my life, I just wanted to go over it with you and see what you think. Okay, so it was like one of those Instagram things that people share, and it's like the iceberg of ADHD.
Oh, yes.
And the top bit is like what people think ADHDers are good at, and the only two things are like talking fast and creativity. And then what ADHDers are actually good at, and then it lists like all these things. Some of them really did make me laugh. Like one of them was optimism. Which
bing, 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 bing.
Truly answered a lot of questions for me. Like if I don't know why you guys are so optimistic. Do you?
We are. I think we overestimate how many things we'll be able to accomplish because there is a misunderstanding of the actual time. Like if you were, I bet we can find some correlation between like whatever part of the brain deals with time. I think it's like the hippocampus and people with ADHD.
Yeah.
That there's something about like I overestimate how long, how
much you can get done.
Much I can get done because I think that activities that I enjoy will take no time at all.
Oh my God.
And I think activities that I don't like will take a million years.
That's hilarious. That's interesting. Okay. So yeah, in the same category was getting a lot done in a short amount of time. So you guys do, kind of,
Correct.
well, because do you procrastinate? It didn't say that because this is all positive stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think because it's that same thing where I avoid doing things that I assume are going to be not enjoyable and take me a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's because I think, oh no, that they're going to take me a long time. The trick that I've used to help retrain my brain and fix this, and I saw as like an ADHD hack, is timing yourself at doing things that you don't want to do. Like it's things like making my bed and like doing the dishes. Because I'll put it off and avoid it. I'm like, oh, it's going to take me forever. No, it'll take me 2 seconds. Folding my clothes and putting them away. It honestly takes 3 minutes sometimes. And I think in my mind it'll take 15 or 20. And so, yeah.
Well, and Adam said that you guys actually maybe enjoy working under pressure because it like gives you that chemical, adrenaline really probably.
For sure.
Where you're like, it's doable then because you have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a pressure. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, some of them were funny to me because it's like, what does this even mean? It says you're good at changing the world. What? Now we're just being silly.
Okay, this is really funny. Remember when I was at school or at grad school and they gave out awards for the award I got is most likely to change the world.
Oh my God. Maybe you guys are good at it. Fuck. Oh my God. You should be really
they gave
excited.
me like superlatives that they did for everybody.
Holy heck.
It's like no pressure.
All right.
How am I doing, guys?
Well, it also says you're good at empathy and unique intuition, which what therapists should be and would be good at. And then it says literally they're good at anything they find interesting.
Yep.
Creating something beautiful. To me, that seems so abstract. It's like, who says it's beautiful?
I love creating beautiful things.
Okay. Sense of humor.
I'll take all these. These are so positive.
Well, this is why you people post this shit. Because you actually are like,
I didn't post it.
I...
You people, I'm offended.
Well, like you guys, if there's one thing that Sarah loves, it's like a label. She loves being able to say she has synesthesia and ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
And then she likes finding information that supports the belief that this makes her special.
Correct. No, here's okay. That is one way to word it. The optimist in me says, I believe that we are all unique and special, and each one of those things makes up a piece of the puzzle that is who I am. And so more than like wanting to find out, I want to figure out pieces of the puzzle. And it was funny that I like finding pieces of the puzzle, but I was just saying the other day that, all the online tests like enneagrams and that kind of stuff, like I enjoy them, but only to a certain place because I look at it the same way I look at like an astrological chart or something like that, where it provides information, but it can't be like the label that you attach. Well, I am this. And it's just kind of like information that gives you like a piece of that puzzle. Yeah. And so I think of it more as like I want a piece. I love what I feel like I'm doing with my clients is helping them put the pieces of their
Yeah,
puzzle
you're
together
right.
and figure out those ones. And so I love finding out the pieces of mine because it's like, oh, that's why I
That's
like doing that.
insightful.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
why. And so it's like, yeah, it's just like a little piece of the puzzle. But you are right. It is absolutely hilarious. And I am constantly looking for those. I mean, I was probably like the kid who loves the Cosmopolitan magazine, like
The
quizzes too.
Yeah.
It's the best part.
The one thing I wanted to ask is they say you guys are good at crisis situations.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that's the adrenaline thing again?
Yeah, and I think it's an ability to, because I think it's the ability to stay calm during.
Yeah, but why are you guys good at that? You would think it would be so distracting because you know how you guys are like, oh, red balloon, squirrel, whatever.
No, it's almost like you have to do something to distract the mind to then help it focus in a weird way.
Yeah.
So like in the same way that I go to bed listening to like white noise, I have to have sound on in order for my brain to shut off. Having a lot of chaos stuff going on around me can almost help me. Oh, in the same way I like to read at a bar. Having all that noise around me, I'm way more, it's almost like there's so much noise, I can focus on what's right in front of me because I'm forced to tune everything out. Whereas if I'm at home and I hear one little bird tweeting, it'll get my brain going off in another, like it's like just too small of a noise or like there was one noise that'll make, I don't know, I can't explain this. There's probably an online, there's probably another infograph or meme about that.
Right. No, it's really interesting. And I do like to learn about it because you, Adam, and Lincoln all have it. And so it is helpful for me, but I'm constantly rolling my eyes about it too. They do not have this test at Everlywell for ADHD. Unfortunately, maybe someday they will, but they do have a lot of great tests that you can take to help you learn more about your own body and the way your body works, whether it's like food sensitivity or like women's health. They have a metabolism test, which I think is great. And a lot of people would want to know like what's cooking with your metabolism. And it's so easy. They're just at-home lab tests that you can take. And they also have vitamins and supplements. And it just kind of supports your overall health and then, gives you sort of the empowerment to, make choices accordingly. Sarah and I both did the food sensitivity test. As you guys know, she's been modifying her diet, and so have I as a result. Anyway, it's just great. It's super affordable and super easy to do, and you get your results in a couple days. And for listeners of the show, Everlywell is offering a special discount of 20% off at-home lab test at everlywell.com/braincandy. That's everlywell.com/braincandy for 20% off your next at-home lab test. everlywell.com/braincandy. Okay, so when we were talking about the ADHD infograph, and then I was thinking about something you and I had spoken about off the air recently, which was like, I have hit my limit with anyone who uses the phrase like, that's just who I am.
Oh, I'm done. Oh, yeah.
Because think about it. Almost pretty much every time anyone ever says that, it's to get out of accountability.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says it about like, oh, Susie, you're so generous. Well, that's just the way I am.
Right.
It's always like
kind of be like, don't do that either.
Always about that's true. That would be gross also. But they usually use it as well, that's just who I am. Like I can't help it. And like I just am not buying it anymore because everything I keep reading just reinforces this idea of number one, how like what's the word? Flexible or changeable?
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Plastic. Yes.
Yeah. How much we can change, and the ways that like things aren't fixed.
It's interesting because like the only time things really become fixed is when we maintain the idea that they are fixed.
Yeah. And then we talk a lot about it then it becomes your identity.
Yes.
And then it becomes very scary to change it.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And so like I don't know. I just want to be more aware of when people use that phrase. And what really made me reinforce recently was this article I had read on, I think it was Wired.
Oh, yeah.
And it was about a woman who had traumatic brain injury. Mm-hmm. And then you know how sometimes like when you have traumatic brain injury or something happens to your brain, you become a totally different person. Have you ever,
Yes. A lot of people.
Yeah. And
Phineas Gage is like the most famous one who had like the stake through the front of his, like the prefrontal lobe, and he turned into kind of an asshole.
Yeah. And like, am I wrong that they almost always become worse?
Well,
I don't know if that's true.
That's the part of the brain, depending on where usually it's hit to the front of the head, because that's like our most human part. We talk about that part of the brain that's really expensive, that is what's activated when we're in our calm state, how it's kind of like the most evolved part of our brain. It's what helps with executive functioning and understanding nuances and relationships and like deeper meaning and how things are connected and cause and effect and those kind of things. And impulse control is a big one. That's impulse control area. And so when you have stuff going on there, then you just say the things that are on your mind, and whoa.
Sometimes that can be offensive.
Those are inside thoughts.
Yeah. Well, and usually I've read about it when they do that and they say mean things and they're kind of like a hurtful person and they're cantankerous and whatever. Yes. This article about the lady, she became less inhibited because of that very thing. Yeah. But in her case, for the most part, it was like read as like charismatic, and she became like mischievous, and it was like mostly cute. Sometimes she would say things that were read as like over the top, but mostly it was just like, wow, she's an extrovert now. She used to be shy. But her identity had been, before the accident, had been wrapped up in intelligence. She always thought she was a very smart person. She took pride in getting good grades and excelling in academics. And she was very scared after the accident when she would read about brain injuries and how usually it lowers the IQ. And she was like petrified that was going to happen and was trying to do all this stuff to avoid that from happening. I will tell you what actually happened in a minute, but the funny thing that I wanted to read to you, maybe you've heard of this. I never did. She was in a class after the injury, but she was trying to pretend like she did not have a brain injury because she felt like stigmatized. Mm-hmm. So like she was just a normal student as far as everyone else was concerned. And the professor was talking about brain injuries. And the professor was talking about frontal lobe damage and how it affects behavior, and was saying that the professor was going to tell a joke that only people with frontal lobe damage would find funny. And it was something about like waterproof watches being submerged underwater. And the lecture hall remained dead quiet following the joke, except for this girl who erupted in laughter, like uncontrollable laughter.
What?
I'm fascinated by this.
Stop it. So what that sounds like to me, you know how you go get a physical and they hit that certain part of your knee that makes it so you have the reflex and your knee goes up and it's like totally involuntary. You can't help it whatsoever. He found that spot with a joke on her brain. What? What is that joke?
What is the joke? I want to know too.
They can't write the whole article and not give the joke.
They didn't. And they said,
Susie.
Yes, it said.
I'm writing letter to the editor right now. I've never written in ever before. This will be the first time.
Well, but they didn't say this specifically, but they alluded to what you talked about recently about the people who love puns, that it's the same part of their brain that was activated. So when she got this damage, like non sequiturs, puns, and like one-liners are hysterically funny. And she said that what sent her over the top, though, was the uncomfortable surrealism of the situation, the awkwardness of hundreds of students not getting something that she found really, really funny. I mean, which is kind of like that I do know that moment where you shouldn't be laughing and then everything becomes, that is such
awesome laughter too. Like nothing feels better than that. So then you don't want to stop. It's like you can't
like at
stop.
a funeral, like if you start laughing at
yes.
like where you're not supposed to.
Yes. Oh goodness.
Anyway, so that was just like part of the
That's fascinating, Suze.
I know. I want to know more.
Good story.
In the end, I liked the ending to the article because she kind of went in this spiral about the things we're talking about, like identity and feeling like if your brain is injured and then you become a different person, then who are you? Are you the person you used to be? Are you the person you are now? Are you anybody? Are any of us anybody? So it's like these big existential philosophical questions.
Right.
And then over time, she was able to make peace and realize that it doesn't matter if you're intelligent. You still are a valuable person. Like your value, which is usually what identity is wrapped up in.
Self-worth.
Yeah. Like usually our identity is connected to how much we value ourselves.
Yes.
So, like, if you can accept it regardless of whether you're a straight A student or not, you still are equally valuable, then you can be okay. And she was able to do that. So that was cool. Isn't that a good one?
I love that story. That is so a perfect story, summary, whatever, of the importance of self-compassion, of really having that, and self-compassion and self-acceptance.
And she was also focusing on, you know how like, if you have those big questions of like, who am I? Who are you? Do any of us matter? All that stuff that like, you almost like feel like there's no meaning to life. Like if your personality can change from one day to the next like that, it's as if there's no meaning. Right. And she was able to determine that, you know, we all tell stories about ourselves. We all write these stories of like, I used to be this way and now I'm this way, or I was the class clown or whatever.
Yes,
and
totally.
We're all sort of manufacturing meaning, and that's okay. Like it doesn't even have to be a true story. If you believe it means something to you, then that's what matters. And that was profound. But in the end, you know, don't you agree that like sometimes being really smart can be a curse? Because like a person with less intelligence than she had would probably have been maybe more comfortable with the injury to begin with. Like, okay, I might lose a few IQ points, whatever happens, it's all fine. But like because she was able to think about it so cognitively that it was like torture.
Absolutely. I said this about who had a more difficult time in the Buried Alive challenge on the challenge.
Yeah.
How I was like calculating the amount of oxygen that we had in there, how many cubic feet, like, you know, cubic inches or whatever, the amount that we would probably like, you know, of my breath that would turn into carbon monoxide, like how long I would need to be down there before I would start to like suffocate on my own air. And Jenna over on the other side said, "Oh, I just pretended like I was at a tanning salon." And she was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So
now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Okay, well, these are all very important questions, existential questions that maybe would be better, you know, suited for a therapist, which is what BetterHelp can offer you.
Yes, there we go.
You know, maybe you want to talk to somebody about your identity and what gives you value. And a therapist could maybe help you work through all that jazz.
Definitely can help you work through that.
There's like
that is literally their job.
Yeah, because like you're basically what you want to get is to find your own solutions. You want to be able to work toward becoming the type of person that can sort these things out.
Solve your own problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thank you, BetterHelp. You can use them to find these answers. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/BrainCandy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/BrainCandy. You know, we all need a little help sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, any hoodles, I think that is so interesting. And but of course, as somebody interested in comedy, I do want to know, like, what part of the brain is involved in it. I
really want to know what the joke was.
I'm going to have to find it. Because, like, what could it be? And, like, what if we get it? Then we'll
right.
Be like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Okay, this was another thing that got me wound up, and maybe you could talk me off the ledge.
Okay.
It was trending on Twitter the other day. I never watched Gilmore Girls, but I know it's a very popular show. I bet a lot of our listeners have seen it. And there is a guy that was on the show. I think his name is Scott Patterson, unless that's his character's name, but I think that's the actor's name. And he was saying that there was an episode in which he acted and he felt very uncomfortable because the characters were ogling his butt. And that they, you know, part of the story of the whatever episode was, you know, about this guy's butt. And of course, a lot of people responding were like, yeah, welcome to every day as a woman. Right. Like, not that that's okay, but just sort of like, can you pipe down a little bit? Because that's not that big of a deal. And then I saw somebody tweet how, in fact, he used the word meat stick. He felt like a meat stick, which I think that is more disgusting than
it is
ogling your butt.
Don't talk to me about your meat stick.
Exactly. But somebody wrote, this was also the episode where Jess, which I guess is a character, tries to force a character named Rory to have sex with them and then screams at her until she cries. And so, like, he's squawking about, like, oh, they were ogling my butt and it made me feel objectified. And they're like, do you remember the rest of that episode where, like, Rory almost got raped and then was yelled at? But the bigger picture for me is just, like, if it's a part of the plot, I don't give a shit about your feelings. Like, we have people playing murderers and...
Yeah, and you had the script.
Yeah. Like, this is a character, and like...
And also, you could have asked, if you don't want that, then they could have, like, substituted with maybe, like, a butt double who could have just been in there, and then so that it wasn't, like, your butt. But if it's part of this happened, so, yeah, this is interesting. Interesting.
And personally, I have an interview coming up with James Burrows, who was the director on all my favorite shows. And in his book, he talked about how frustrating it is that the networks always want all of the characters to always be likable now. This is like a newer thing. And how, like, what kind of a story can you get when every character is likable?
Right.
Like, you kind of
Not a good one.
You have to have conflict. Everyone knows that when you write a story.
Yeah. Look at Game of Thrones.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh my God, there's so much conflict. And
not everybody's likable.
There was one character on there, this king, that was just he was a child too. He was like 15 in the story, or like a kid, maybe younger. And he was the worst. And he played that role so well that he said he had a hard time, like, walking down the street after that because people couldn't see him other than anything other than the character. Now, with this Scott Patterson guy, oops. Okay. Is it?
Yeah, you got it. Scott Patterson. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why do I do it so often with serial?
I love it. It's the best.
Okay. Scott Patterson. You think I would know that one? I would. If he came and said, while I was on the set of the Gilmore Girls, the actresses ogled my booty and made me feel like a meat stick on set.
That is hostile work environment.
Hostile work environment. You are correct, sir. I am.
I hear you.
I hear you. But me as a character, like, could you imagine? Come on.
Right. Like, okay.
And also, you're probably a hot character on there. And so, like, could you imagine the characters in Baywatch being like, you know, I really feel like when I was running down the beach in my bathing suit,
right,
that people were staring at me, and that my job on there was to, like, be.
I was saving lives.
Yeah. Come on.
So stupid.
Come on.
Think about every show you love or movie, like Harry Potter. You know, like there's a character that is Harry's enemy. Like even at the Hogwarts, you know?
Right.
And pretty much every show there's a bully or a villain. Like that's the nature of acting, doofus. I don't know what you're talking about.
And he... this is in the script. So is he mad at the writers?
He just said he felt objectified and he didn't like it one bit. And I said, my friend, you are in the wrong industry.
Yeah.
Because if you can't act any way but how you actually feel, you're not actually an actor.
Yeah, could you imagine if the scene called for him to be yelled at and he was like, I really didn't like getting yelled at? What?
Like...
You get fired in a scene. I really didn't like getting fired.
Yeah. But it's especially
my mom
gross.
died in this movie.
Yes.
Well, I really didn't like that my mom passed away. Well, this is your role.
It made it extra gross because it was a white, straight man. Like, really? This is what you're mad at. Okay, sir. So anyway, I'm mad about that.
I mean, this is like, we're close. Like, they're close. Like, you're pointing out things.
Yeah, you're so
good.
Close.
We're close. We're close.
You just made a left turn there.
Yeah.
All right.
I have one thing. I want to get your opinion on something.
Tell me.
I was going to talk about this last time, but I forgot. Mm-hmm. So I was playing Trivial Pursuit with my mom.
Oh my God.
And here's one of the questions. Oh my God. I also realized, I'm like, if I'm like that, and now I see what you mean.
Yeah.
She's an exaggerated version of what I'm like.
Yes.
Whoa. Yeah. I am going to I am self-correcting right now. I am one who's not going to be like,
what
this
if
is
you're
just
like,
like,
yeah,
I'm
this is
just
just
like
who
this.
I am.
This is just, no, I am correcting my behavior. I learned that. Okay. Thank God she won. Let's put it that way.
Oh my God.
Here's the question. What 2-letter street slang for hello there will give Scrabble players a legal 5 points?
Are you asking me what I would answer?
Yeah.
I guess I would say hi.
That's what I said, because that does give you 5 points. And wouldn't you say that hi is like an old street slang for hello there?
Yeah.
No, the answer on the back is yo.
Oh. Right.
I don't like any of that.
No, I see your point. So hi would give you 5 points and yo would give you a yo. And
Yeah.
I guess I don't think of that as a greeting. Someone comes into my house, I don't say yo.
Yeah, hello there, yo.
That's more like I want your attention. Yo.
Yeah.
Server.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying. Okay, so
Trivial
your
Pursuit, I wanna write
mom
in.
was acting like this was obviously the right answer? Yo?
No, I was acting like, no. She was reading the card to me, and I said hi was my answer that I gave.
Yeah.
And then she said, they said yo.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't like, what?
Like,
it's obviously yo.
Oh, excuse me. And then I Googled how many points is hi worth.
the best
And then I was like, okay, I feel like I need to get. And then my mom was nice. She was like, do you want to do over? Do you want a different question? And I was like, yeah, because that's bullshit.
I agree. And I like that she was fine. Like she saw your point. But
Yeah,
the
she
best
did.
part of the story definitely is you Googling how many points hi would be. Like that is my favorite
because
part.
I knew in my mind, but then I was like, wait,
because
H is 4. Obviously.
Right.
But then I was second guessing myself, and I was like, no, I can't be wrong on my point breakdown in Scrabble.
Yeah.
I know this. You know how many games Susie and I have played?
Here's what I think I'll do
Hundreds.
on Instagram is I'll put up the question, take a
Yes.
picture of that and send it to me, the card, and then I'll get them to answer before they know the real answer.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
see if we are correct.
This podcast has turned into we crowdsource the
Opinions.
answers that we're looking for. Yeah, opinions like that support what we think. Oh, this is funny.
Yeah, I would be mad too, Sarah.
I am mad. So yeah, I just want to say that was dumb, and
There was
think
another Trivial Pursuit problem that you had years ago. I'm sure.
yeah,
we'll
it
come
was.
to
It
soon.
had something to do with you. The answer I think was man. It had something to do with like. Oh gosh, I can't remember. But it was gendered or something like that, and I was very angry
Pissed.
about it. I'm just making a little stack. My mom and I are going to keep playing, and I'll just make a little stack of all the ones that, and hopefully I'll collect enough to write in, and they'll give me a free thing of cards.
Oh, yeah. Remember when you wrote into that crossword puzzle and we're like, you have an error or some sort of like word search or something.
Yeah.
And you were like, there's a misprint or a typo or whatever. And they were like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah, they were like, we don't. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get free ones.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Okay. Since we're just talking about like things we're confused about and angry by, my mom told me this story about how she went to Sheetz, which is like a 7-Eleven in Pittsburgh. And that there was a woman in front of her who had like really big breasts. And some guy came in and knew her, recognized her, and he walked up to her and he was like, hey, I haven't seen you in ages. And then he did this with her breasts, like boing, 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 boing. Like he took his hands.
No!
Yes! And he boing, boing, boing.
No!
Yeah. Like he would with a slinky.
Her tatas in front of you.
Yeah, in front of my mom. And
in front of your mom.
She was
worse.
Pitching this story as like, this is how depraved society is now, that's like totally fine. Because the woman wasn't upset. It was like no big deal. And I'm like, Mom, that's not a story about society. That's a story about two weirdos.
Yeah. You saw weird freaking people at Sheetz.
So do you agree this is not some sort of like devolution where like society is...
No, I don't think our greetings have devolved from the handshake. Like this is what happened as a response to COVID. We're like, oh, we're not shaking hands anymore. Now we're jiggling tits as a greeting.
Right. Because it was like a slinky maneuver, like boing, 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 boing.
Ooga.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I'm sorry.
And I was so distracted by her sort of painting such a broad stroke about just how sick we all are now. I'm like, lady, that's weirdos. Who does that in public?
Weirdos.
The end.
That is a good story. A head scratcher. Also, I need to know more. What's the relationship?
I said,
like my fan fiction mind.
Yeah.
Has now just made her the madam at a brothel, like some like sex trafficking. Like she's running the show, and she used to do that. Like she used to be one of the gals, but now she's taken over. And
God, it's so elaborate.
But she still does some stuff like on the side here and there for people who have a thing for women with really, really big boobs. And this might be one of like either he like did some work for her back in the day, or he's like an old customer, or he like, you know, maybe they didn't exchange. Maybe he's like a handyman who like exchanged, like they laid new carpet in the place. Why would they get carpet? I don't know. They should definitely go with hardwood floors.
It's so specific.
They got carpet laid down, and he was the guy who laid the carpet, but they didn't pay him. They paid him in like, you know, a titty.
Honest to God, though, even with all of that, it's still like most people know where is acceptable to do things. And they still
and the
wouldn't
line
do
at
it
Sheetz
there. The line at Sheetz. So there's that. Okay.
Would it be acceptable at the place in Colorado called the Come and Go?
How is it spelled?
Kun. Susie. I know.
You have got to be kidding me.
I think it's I'm like, this is they're pranking us. They're pranking us, right? Right.
I cannot.
Yes.
Have you ever been inside?
Yeah.
And it's just normal.
Normal. Like nobody's in there like being like wink wink. That's what I was expecting. I do think that they sometimes come out with merch and it sells out instantly.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Come on.
Although I wouldn't even wear it ironically because people would think you were ready for things.
That lady wears this shirt.
What if Scott Patterson wore that and he'd be like, just because I wear the Come and Go shirt doesn't mean you can ogle my ass. We were like, what were you wearing on set?
So yeah. Oh my God.
You were asking for it, Scott.
That's so funny.
All right. Last thing.
I mean, technically the script was asking for it, but.
What script?
That he was reading. Yeah. I was making a joke.
Yeah, right. Literally asking for it.
Right.
All right. Let's should I just, like, should we leave it there and wind down, or should I do one that's, like, actually infuriating and not funny at all?
Oh, geez.
I know, it's Sophie's choice.
I could be infuriated. I could be infuriated. All right, okay. And now you've tempted me. You've dangled the carrot.
It's kind of timely because we just read in our book club this memoir about a woman in prison called Corrections in Ink. Mm-hmm. And so I have like female people in jail on my mind.
Right. Got it.
And today I saw in the New York Times that this woman won a settlement she's a person that was in jail, and she got a settlement from the county or whatever for $480,000. And here's why. She had been arrested like on a not a big deal drug charge, and she was pregnant at the time. And she was 6 months pregnant and in her cell, and her water broke. And so, like, I guess there's some sort of button or whatever that you can alert that you have a medical emergency. Yeah. And she did that for 2 hours, and they didn't come. And so finally when they came, instead of calling an ambulance, they just were like, get in the van, we'll take you to the hospital. So she gets in the van, and they're going to take her to the hospital, and they stop at Starbucks.
No!
Get coffee. She's in the van, bleeding and in labor. Of course, loses the baby.
Oh, my God.
I mean, thank God she got a settlement, but, like, that is not enough.
No, it doesn't matter. You don't have a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, God. There's no settlement in the world that could bring... Oh, my God.
And it's like, so when you read the memoir that I mentioned, I mean, these stories are not unusual. Right. That this is how the prison system works. But it's just, like, so horrific. And it's like... You can't accept that this is real, and that the corrections officers would be so immune or desensitized.
They dehumanize these people.
Yet they truly don't see them as people, even when they're pregnant.
Right. That's really fucked up.
It's so maddening. And the first trial, the judge threw it out and said, like, she didn't meet the statute of limitations. It just happened like last year. But then an appeals judge said, no, it's fine. And then they gave her the settlement of
come on,
all that money. But
fuck that judge too.
Right? Well, they're in cahoots.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
It's come on. Prison industrial complex or military industrial complex thing. Like, it's
for sure. I mean, speaking of cahoots, how about just to lighten the mood, one of my favorite things was on Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry went on a date with this girl, and she wanted to put, like, chocolate candies in with the popcorn, for, like, a salty sweet thing. And he was like, no, salty and sweet are in conflict. And she was like, no, they're in cahoots. And, like, I know the show is improv, but I swear he just made her say cahoots because it's, like, Yiddish and great.
Yes.
But they are in cahoots. Don't you agree? Sweet and salty?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Hello, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Yeah. And I fall for it every time. Like, they get me. They're in cahoots, coming after me. And I'm like...
All right. One last thing, though, about Larry David. I want to know your opinion. I love him with all my heart, and he basically can do no wrong. My one problem with him is that he is a Woody Allen apologist.
I know.
And, like, I want to know if I can just pretend that's not true, or if you think you have to grapple with it.
Well, I'm in the same boat with Jeff Goldblum.
What is he? A Woody Allen apologist? The fuck with the Jewish men and Woody Allen?
I know. That's
You're
what I
so
think.
right.
I feel like they're supporting the tribe.
Talk to Eli about it.
Okay, well.
Oh, my God. Wait. Before he listens to this, you have to just be like,
what if Eli is a Woody Allen apologist?
You have to just be like, what do you think of Woody Allen? And, like, see what he says.
Okay.
This is scary.
I know.
What if he's like, you know what?
Is this worse than The Whistler?
Definitely. Because actually I was thinking, because Eli wrote to me about the whistling problem. And I was...
he thinks that you might be mad at him.
I knew it.
He was like, I was joking, but maybe she doesn't think I'm joking.
No, I was joking back, but I knew later, I was like, oh, he's new to this. He doesn't... No, I'm totally kidding. But I want him to know that I did rethink it, and I think he's allowed to whistle. Okay. But this is different. So, like, see what happens when you bring it up, and maybe we can. Are you scared?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm feeling pretty good because in the new Game of Thrones spinoff, the king. No, I don't. I mean, I don't want to spoil this for people, but okay, here it is. You can just stop now if you watch that show. The king's wife dies, and then
oh my gosh.
He might marry. He has like the option to like pick another wife, and for political reasons, might marry, or the option to marry a 12-year-old is on the table. And so, like, there was the proper reaction to that. So,
okay, but this is the Jewish thing.
I know.
Okay, but we'll see. We don't have time to wind down. Whatever, you get it. We talked about all this stuff, okay? We talked about a lot of stuff, and we'll see you.
So much stuff. Like, no stuff. We laughed, we cried. We got pissed.
We laughed, we cried. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, friends.